And we are live. It is week 8 of the Wednesday show for Football Diehards. You are here with Kyle Dvorchak and former Million Maker winner Bobby Gomes. How did last week treat you?
It was a good week, very good week. Had all the right plays, all the right pivots, worked out.
Yeah, you called Chase Edmonds on, if not on this show, probably on the Sunday morning show. And I didn't play him in cash, but I did play him in tournaments. That's what you needed to do. So that didn't hurt me. Cash game lineup didn't work out, but it wasn't as bad in tournaments, so that was good. And that was a very, very that was the call you had to have essentially last week. So very sharp on you. Good job.
Yeah, that was like an NBA call. So DJ had the ankle injury and then the back injury, and it was just like, is he really gonna? And with Christian Kirk out, you just had to figure that Edmonds was going to see more run than usual. The Rams game, I was off. All the Atlanta chalk, I was off that. I was actually on Rams D, and I was on Valdez Scantling instead of. I had a couple good. Last week was a good week.
Yeah, it sounds like you pretty much had every single pick.
I had the nuts.
Yeah, dude. Congratulations. A good week.
Proverbial nuts that everyone has, but no one's ever actually had.
No, seriously, good calls. Good calls. Hopefully, some people were listening and made some of those plays. So, without further ado, I guess we can get into this slate. All right, so let's go with what I have as my first game of the week. We have one that I'm excited to talk about: Arizona versus the Saints. I guess this game obviously starts with talking about Chase Edmonds and David Johnson. Chase Edmonds 6,200 on DK. David Johnson just ahead of him at 64. Given that he was at least physically able to take the field last week, I assume David Johnson would get on the field as a committee back this week, but they have since signed Alfred Morris. Then they went on and signed Zach Zenner. So typically you're looking to take 3 backs into any given game as a team. DJ Foster probably not playing. Chase Edmonds definitely playing. So that leaves the 3 running backs of David Johnson, Zach Zenner, and Alfred Morris to take those spots. If they signed another back, it makes me think that David Johnson is very questionable to play this week, which then at that point, 6,200, you're just firing up Chase Edmonds again?
Yeah, Edmonds would be the likely chalk again. It's an interesting game just because the way it's totaled, it looks like it's totaled for the spread, and the total's fine. The spread is 10.5. Is Breeze playing? I don't think Breeze is back.
The thing is,
to be back.
Breeze said today, I think it was today, that he expects, the plan is that he plays this week. Now, that was his words. Is that actually what happens? I would suggest that you tune into our Sunday morning show at 9 a.m. to find out. But my lean is still that he doesn't play, still logging limited practices, and I would imagine they want to get him a full week of full practices, essentially, before he plays. So I'm going to prepare for this game as though he doesn't play.
So I'm going to prepare for it as he's going to play. Alvin Kamara, 7,600, because the line, it's not a 10.5 point game.
I guess, yeah, it's actually
for the spread with Teddy Bridgewater as the QB in Vegas. Is Vegas, so
that's actually a very good point, to be fair.
It just doesn't look, that's not a correct line with Teddy Bridgewater. I know they've been playing good, but it's not that isn't the line that I'd be. I don't know. I like New Orleans defense as well. Saints D versus an Arizona offensive line that's pretty much trash. Saints, the defensive front's been really strong, and correlating that with Kamara at 7,600, maybe you can go back to Kamara. Kamara is a cash game option. Is this I haven't really looked at the slate too much. I'm just kind of Kamara is a really good play on the slate. If Breeze is playing at 7,600, that's way too cheap. So I like Kamara, definitely running it back with Edmonds if DJ sits again. I think one thing that we talked about, the benefit of having Christian Kirk out last week. Christian Kirk's likely to play this week, I would imagine. I think it was close to playing last week, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, he was. I think he was logging limited practices. It was just they said they want him to be 100% before they played him. So yeah, it would make sense that he comes back this week.
So I'd like it if he sat for Edmonds again, because obviously there's more usage because Edmonds is used in the passing game and he'll be used in the slot. But for whatever reason, if he plays, which I expect him to play, the thing that Larry Fitzgerald's going to get a ton of volume in the slot in this situation versus New Orleans, I would imagine. But I just don't want to play all that dust. But he is 5,400, so maybe he's cash consideration.
I wouldn't consider him in cash, not because like you said, the price is better now. I think he was 6,100 last week. This week he's down to 54, as you said. And other than last week, he's gotten the volume: 8 targets, 5, 7, 11, and 13. Like those are like receiver one numbers. But the thing is, I think he's just dust. Like he is the ultimate. Like they're not using him in a way that's conducive to fantasy points. His body is probably not conducive to fantasy points anymore. Yeah, I'm probably just not playing him at all.
If you have to play him in cash, Kyle, play him in cash. Just I don't know if that's going to be the case as we move through these games, but
I don't think it is.
I know New Orleans really struggles versus the slot. They funnel the slot with DJ out. I don't know. Yeah, I know the ADOT's not high, but in cash games, like I don't hate it, especially with Lattimore on Kirk, which I would imagine would be the case. Yeah, so Edmonds and Alvin Kamara are probably 2 favorite plays for me in this game, outside of whatever happens with Fitz.
I actually think at 8K, because I feel as though there are a lot of ways to pay down on the slate. Michael Thomas 8K is really like cash game consideration if you're paying down at some other spots, because there are a few spots to pay down at, to be honest. So 8K for a dude who's gotten over double-digit targets in the past 3 games, and it doesn't matter who plays Teddy Bridgewater or Drew Brees. It literally has not affected him at all, except he has a slight downtick in touchdowns. But that's pretty – in a 7-game sample with Teddy Bridgewater, it's really hard to put any stock into that, especially in a game that's like perfect setup for them scoring touchdowns against. Like they're what? What's the implied team total for them? 30. Jesus. Yeah. So like touchdowns would be my least of my concerns if I'm playing Michael Thomas. I actually think he's a really solid play.
No, yeah, I think Michael Thomas is a good play. The only thing that would worry me is Patrick Peterson being back. But still in this situation with the total being what it is, it's in the Superdome, like Thomas is definitely fine. So I don't hate it.
Let's hop into our next game. I have here I actually didn't even bring up the spread. That's a 10.5 point spread with a 49.5 point total, just for reference there, but I think you brought it up, so we're fine. Next game we have is Detroit versus the Giants. Detroit are 7-point home favorites. Totals moved up 0.5 point to 49. This looks like a pretty solid game to stack, especially with not like no crazy totals this week, except for I think the Seattle versus Atlanta line is pretty high, but I honestly feel like it's the exact same situation as last week. So we'll talk about that later. But for now, I think this is one of the best games to attack, Detroit versus the Giants. Stafford balling out last week. Inexplicably, none of that goes to Kenny Golladay, but I think like that can't, like, I don't expect on my life that sort of split holds or anything even close to it. So for me, I'm still going back to Kenny Golladay. But what I want to talk about is, are you playing Ty Johnson? Because I think Ty Johnson is very cash game viable, 4,900. Kerryon Johnson, obviously, on IR. He got 10 carries to J.D. McKissick's 5, and he also out-targeted him 4-3 and caught 2 more balls than him. I think, like, at 4,900, he's very cash game viable.
Yeah, I like Ty Johnson. I think that's where the slate kind of begins in terms of cash, is with Ty Johnson just in this situation. With Kerryon pretty much done for the foreseeable future. I think we forgot to hit on my Marvin Jones call last week too on the Sunday show. I think I talked about Marvin Jones on the Sunday show. I shouldn't even play this coming Sunday because pretty much all the good stuff I was on, it might probably swing back the other way. Yeah, I don't know. I like Ty. Saquon's someone who Detroit hasn't been good versus the run. Usually defenses that are anchored by Snacks Harrison are. They just haven't for whatever reason. So Saquon with his usage.
It's because defense doesn't matter.
No, but defense does matter at points, even though, yeah, it doesn't matter. I get it. Saquon, 8,900. If I can play Kamara, I'd play Kamara over Saquon. But I still like Saquon. He's in a dome as well. So
yeah, Saquon came, like, obviously, like, as expected, came right back into the role we're always used to him seeing. Despite it being a losing effort, he still got 18 carries, 5 targets, got 3 of them. Like no need to change our evaluation of him at all. And honestly, this offense is better with Daniel Jones. Like, their touchdown projection as an offense is better with Daniel Jones under center. So, yeah, I think if you end up having the extra cash in your lineup, going up to Saquon from Alvin Kamara is a fine play. Evan Ingram hilariously burned anyone who was like riding the defenses matter funnel matchup narrative. he was way too expensive last week regardless, but now he's down to 5,300. What are you doing with him? Because I think at 5,300, if you run Detroit stacks, he's a great way to run it back.
Yeah, Rhett Ellison scored the TD too. So he kind of got vultured. I like Ingram. I think he's a solid play. 5,300 is fine. I think Daniel Jones is going to lean on him like he has earlier in the year, and like we've seen. I don't know. It's interesting. Kenny Golladay, I think where's he at? 6,400. Burned a lot of people last week. I don't mind going back to Golladay. Play that. If everyone's going to get off, we'll get on. And I don't know. I like the price tag for Golladay.
Yeah, outside of last week, he's been the dominant number one receiver on this team all season. Like Marvin Jones has gotten good volume, but it has still paled to Kenny Golladay. So I think last week almost certainly an outlier. Before that, he's averaging 9 targets a game. He's averaging 9 targets a game every game before that. So one game doesn't really get me off Golladay, but if it gets other people off, like you said, that's where I'd be moving to.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. Like, I feel like Shep's fine if he doesn't see Slay, but I think he would see Slay. And in that instance, Darius Slayton, if you're stacking this game up, I think would be interesting. That's pretty much it. Hawkinson versus the Giants as well. 3,500. That's just too cheap versus a team we've streamed tight ends against previously. So.
I like that call as well. And he seemed to got like a pretty, I don't want to say a solid floor because it's a few points, but a few points at 3,500 is a lot different than Evan Ingram's floor of a few points at last week, 6,500. So I like that call, getting like 4 or 5 targets a game. Not a bad play. Next game we have on my docket is the Bengals versus the Rams. Rams are 13-point favorites. Like the Bengals pass a lot, and that's how we want teams to play because that's more conducive to moving the ball and scoring points. But honestly, this team's just so like defunct and devoid of talent that it doesn't matter. So I guess this would start for me is, are you playing any Rams like receivers or passing game options? Because like I feel like they were somewhat fortunate to get all the points they got last week just because they didn't have to. So do you expect them to basically keep like pushing the pedal down as they destroy the Bengals? Or is it more of like they give up by the second half because they don't have to? Because in that case, it's probably like either Todd Gurley in the first half, or even I think you could probably take a flyer on Darrell Henderson, assuming Malcolm Brown's out.
Yeah, so they have one of the highest team totals on the slate. Cooper Kupp's definitely someone who hasn't really worked out the last 2 weeks in chalky situations, so I don't mind going back to him. This running back situation is just tough to kind of figure out between Gurley and Henderson. Like, I really kind of just want to stay away. But the 13.5 spread is pretty enticing. I guess you could go Gurley, but why not just play Kamara for 200 more when we know the work is like guaranteed? Like my favorite play on the Rams would be Cup. I know Justin thinks Gerald Everett is like out of the sea of mediocrity. Isn't that what he says? The sea of mediocrity at the tight end position.
Oh yes, that is exactly what he says. I've heard it enough.
Yeah, I don't know. I think he stinks still. So I don't know. I'm not playing Gerald Everett, even though that price is pretty cheap. It could be a cash game play for people. I hope not. I don't know, but I haven't seen this full slate really, so I'm just looking at pricing now. On the Cincy side, Tyler Boyd, 5,100. Depending on who's in the slot, they're going to avoid Ramsey, so I think Boyd wouldn't be the worst play at 51. I'm not really sure. I don't want to play Joe Mixon. Definitely don't want to play Dalton. Rams D, 3,800. I don't mind that. That's the only play that really sticks out is Cup. Am I wrong in saying that?
I guess I'll touch on a few things, but like I generally agree with you. Gerald Everett has over 10 targets in 2 of his past 3 games, and his past 4 he has another one with 8. I mean, that kind of volume on a 30-point team total, I get it. Like, I don't know or care if he's talented. Volume is volume at 4,300. I don't think you need to pay down because I like Ty Johnson. If David Johnson doesn't play, you're getting like the bell cow of all bell cows at 6,200 and Chase Edmonds. So I don't think you have to. But if you need the savings for whatever reason, or you want to run a bit of a different lineup in tournaments, I actually think Everett's a very fine play.
I'm playing Evan Ingram or like every time over. I don't know. I get Everett's fine if that's the case, but I'd be looking to get off that in tournaments if he's chalk.
One other thing, last week we saw Darrell Henderson. I was just looking at this, got 11 carries and a target in a game that was like, obviously it sets up like when the Rams annihilate their opponents and they don't have Malcolm Brown, it would make sense for them to just rest Gurley in what I assume is the second half. So this is like an unconscionably large spread. Any interest in playing Darrell Henderson, just like banking, not in cash obviously, but in tournaments, getting some like a decent amount of second half mop up duty.
Yeah, I get that. No, it makes sense. I don't know. I'm just not. I feel like if I can get, it's gonna like I know it's gonna start with Ty Johnson for a lot of people. Like maybe Darrell Henderson's a fade in that sense because he's definitely not going to be as highly owned as Ty Johnson. But I don't really know at this point in the week.
Yeah, I think it's in consideration, especially he's 4K, Ty Johnson 49, so I think it lets you pay down, but not for Johnson. But yeah, it's probably something just we'll monitor throughout the week. All right, my next game I have here, interesting game, I guess, because there's one particular play that I don't know how I feel about. It is the Titans versus Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Titans have a 24 implied team total and are 2.5 point home favorites. Ryan Tannehill, man, sitting at 5,100. What are you doing with Ryan Tannehill? If you play him, do you have to stack him with anyone? Because right now he is one of the best like points per salary dollar you can get at quarterback.
Obviously, I'm starting Tannehill in cash. Like that's without a doubt the first play. I'm block him right in. No, I'm not playing Tannehill in cash, but I may play Corey Davis if he's not. He's got a Q tag though, but that's too cheap. I thought his price last week was too cheap at 4K. I don't know. And on the other side, what are we doing? The God, Mike Evans? Like,
dude,
where are you?
How is the God 7,100? Wasn't this dude like pushing 8K a few weeks ago? Like he was on buy and they forgot to fix his price. I actually think that's so incredibly cheap. He's gone over 28 points in like his past 3 games, and he's done that in 4 of his past 5.
Yeah, the thing that this game could be like sneaky. I wonder where the money is in terms of like the total. I know it's a 46 point total, but if the money's like, I'm pulling it up right now. If the money's pretty much like on the over, I think I might have more exposure to this game. I don't know. I'm not pulling it up right now. Hold on one sec.
Right now the total's moved down a point, so my guess would be the money is.
So we're not playing. Yeah, so the money's not on. Yeah. Okay. Well, 46. I don't love this game. Let's get off.
All right. I mean, if the total does move down, though, who cares about a 45.5 point total game? So fair enough. Let's move on to I don't have these in time order for whatever reason, but let's move on to Indy versus Denver. A 44 point total. I guess it's moved up half a point since it opened, but it's still pretty low. Indy 6 point favorites at home. For me, this just sets up to be a Marlon Mack game. I just don't like. I don't know. I guess maybe it's like last week where Brissett's always in play given the rate he's throwing touchdowns at. But like the volume Marlon Mack gets as a home favorite by 6 points, I just kind of want to play Marlon Mack and forget about this game.
Yeah, I think the sharp money in this game is actually on the under as well. Yeah, so I don't really love this game. Like obviously, sharp money's on Indy. Yeah, you could go to Mack. His price is interesting at 6,100, but I'd rather play Edmonds. Maybe if I get Mack, Edmonds, and Kamara in cash. I don't know if I really want to go. I think there'll be better options as the week kind of progresses. But Mack kind of let a lot of people down last week as well. T.Y. Hilton's back up to 6,100. Don't really want any part of him versus Chris Harris. And on the Denver side, like I have no – like maybe Cortland Sutton because now you have –
that's what I wanted to talk about before we head off this game.
You have Samuel who's no longer there. So Cortland Sutton or Deshaun Hamilton is going to be pretty popular. Deshaun Hamilton at 3,300 is someone that could be in play for a cash game, like at least in the conversation, right? Like, and then Cortland Sutton at 53 is obviously in the conversation.
Sanders leaves behind a ton of volume, and given that this team, Denver, is a major dog on the road, like there's just really no chance. It seems as if they don't just pass the ball a ton because one, they've been taking shots all season. It's just with Joe Flacco and doesn't happen to work out a ton. But yeah, I don't see how they don't continue to pass the ball a ton, and those Sanders targets have to go somewhere. You expect Hamilton to step right in. Like I expect him to basically step right into the Sanders role just in terms of snaps and where they come from in terms of the slot. So for me, I think he's definitely a cash game conversation. And he's been their third receiver on the team. It's just that third receiver role hasn't been, it's literally been half of what Emmanuel Sanders has in terms of targets. But yeah, I think at 3,300, he's fine. One more play I guess I'm going to talk about is Noah Fant. I think he's top 12 in air yards for tight ends. Only a tournament play, but if you wanted to run Mac back with Fant, he's getting a handful of deep balls for a tight end. And in that case, I think he's not the worst play.
Yeah, I think Fant's a little bit more than just in play for tournaments at 2,900 with the situation of like Emmanuel Sanders moving and them being in a 5.5 point dog in a dome with only Cortland Sutton as really the only respectable receiving option and Fant having those air yards. I wouldn't just write him off as only a tournament play. I think he could also be in the cash game conversation as of Wednesday at 2,900. That's just too cheap.
Yeah, actually, did not know that was his price at that point. That's very cheap. I think he's got the second highest ADOT of any tight end, only behind Hunter Henry. So like they're taking shots with them.
If that's his ADOT, we get to just start him. We just start him.
It is. It's 11 point something. I'm sure I could pull it up, but it's like point something behind Hunter Henry, who's also a beast.
The ADOT guy. No, yeah, I love air yards. Like just keep depositing in that bank, the air yards bank. No, but seriously. If you take Cortland out, if you take Sanders out, and then it's just Cortland and Fant in a situation where the game script is positive for the passing game, Fant has to be more in consideration at that
Yeah,
price.
actually, the more we talk about it, the more I think it's not if I want to like completely fade this game. It's like which Bronco do I think gets the most value from the Sanders trade? Dude. And that'll kind of be my decision point for the rest of the week is if I'm playing one of these guys in cash.
Dude, I can't. Wow. That's like a revelation. Thank you for opening up my mind. Noah Fant, cash, lock him in. I'm going to run him in an optimizer right now, see what I get.
While you're doing that, let me find our next game. We have the Eagles versus the Bills. Bills, 23 implied team total, 2.5. Actually, this is big. The line has moved to 1.5 in favor of the Bills, now 2.5. But man, this game total, 43.5, very low. And it's probably because the Eagles looked like trash last week. And the Bills were just fine. They definitely disappointed against Miami for sure. So I don't know, much interest in this game at all because Zach Ertz has been underperforming. You know, Alshon had a few good weeks now. He doesn't look as much of a consistent player, which it's Alshon. That's not surprising. I guess like John Brown is the obvious play here. I can check his price, but pretty much no matter what it is, I feel like you have to have some consideration of him in tournaments.
Yeah, 5,900 for John Brown versus a team that really struggles versus number one wide receivers. And they're at home. I hate this game. Like I hate Philly. And I'm coming around to just hating Buffalo. Played Brown last week, worked out, but barely. Played Josh Allen last week. When I was on Aaron Rodgers pretty much all week, I just had more Allen at the end of the day. And that was pretty tilting. So that was the one thing that I was upset about. But yeah, I just don't like this game, dude. Like there's nothing I really want to roster. Maybe I walked downstairs before the show and they have like this little convenience store in the sky. I was like, yeah, I made a season-long trade. Got Bills defense for like Tyreek Hill. And I was like, holy shit. Like I got to be on this going up to a pod. Like, I just wanted to like lecture the kid. Like it was the worst trade I ever heard. But yeah, I don't know. It's just a tangent. I have nothing. Do you have something?
It's for me, it's all will always be John Brown. Last week, another like even though he only got 6 targets, which honestly in a game where I expected the Bills to just annihilate them, I would have thought a little more. But they actually spread the ball out a decent amount. 23% target share is nothing special. But as always, air yards world champion John Brown, 39% of the team's air yards. And this week he did capitalize on a lot of those, 83. He posted a 5 for 83 and 1 touchdown game. I'm fine with dipping back in at the price of 5,900. I don't think it's as much of like last week I prioritized getting him in my cash game lineup. And if he hadn't scored that touchdown, it would have been rough. So thankful for that. I don't think I'm prioritizing him like that this week. I still think he's a fine tournament play. Outside of that, honestly, I have very little interest in this game.
Dude, I can't wait to play Noah Fant and Cash, man. That's pretty much it. Like, there's nothing. Deb Singletary, should we be talking about him versus Philly? Like, no, 4,400.
Yeah, it didn't. He still got out touched by Frank Gore. If things had been the other way around,
Assume national coaching. Just keep playing Frank Gore, run him into that wall every day, every Sunday.
If they had done the smart thing and started testing out their rookie in a game they were supposed to win, and we saw good stuff from him, sure, but that didn't happen, and he still got out touched by Frank Gore. So if Frank Gore retires tonight, load up on Devin Singletary.
Which is possible. It has to be.
No, he's never retiring. He's literally never retiring. He's going to outplay my entire actual lifespan. I'll be dead by the time he retires.
Okay.
All right, let's hop into our next game. We have here Jacksonville versus the Jets. Oh my God, that was one of the worst football games I've ever seen. The Jets, Jesus Christ!
And dude, I seriously was on the Jets hard. I just thought that I didn't think that was going to happen. Darnold was like.
Yeah, thank God the Jets weren't on the main slate. They'd have killed you.
Yeah, I know. That was like, I had such a good week, and then the Jets. It's like, I was telling everyone, yeah, the Jets are in a good spot this week, plus 9.5. Get them at 11. I don't know. Yeah, no Jets for me versus Jacksonville. Actually, you know what? Robbie Anderson, Sam Darnold stack. I don't think it's out of the realm.
Let's not get carried away.
No, why are we getting carried away? I don't think it's the worst play at all versus a Jacksonville defense that just lost Jalen Ramsey. I don't think that's why, because they had a bad game the other night, bad showing.
I don't think Sam Darnold is that good, is the thing.
I don't think he's that good either.
And that's one of the
Robbie Anderson.
Yes, no, that's fine. That's what I was going to say. That's what I was talking about getting carried away. I think you can play him alone because, like last week, John Brown easily hit his value, whereas I think Josh Allen didn't hit value. No, he's just over, barely, at 20 points flat, basically. But John Brown on 1 to 2 plays basically got there. I think Robbie Anderson's the same situation, and he's due to all season has not been able to capitalize on his air yards because his quarterback play has been awful. Now it's all right. It's not good, but it's all right.
Yeah, Darnold is trash, by the way. Has a very speaking of the Jacksonville Jaguars, like a Byron Leftwich almost. It's not as elongated, but it's kind of like a long delivery, and he can't read a defense, obviously, from the Seeing Ghosts comments. So I don't know. Robbie Anderson would be it for me.
I guess one more thing we have to talk about because it's happened in back-to-back weeks. Demaryius Thomas, 9 targets, 141 air yards. Didn't really capitalize on much, but nobody did in that game. He's still around 3K. It's just so much volume. I'm not I don't know. What do you do with the player getting that much volume who is almost assuredly not going to be?
That's so many air yards, bro. So many air yards. Shit.
It's so many targets.
I have to play him. I have to. I just have to.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I can look him up real quick. I'm pretty sure he's just over 3K. But
dude, he's 3,300.
But he's definitively bad.
We're not playing him. But he is 3,300.
I think it's just more.
You can play him in tournaments, I guess. Dude,
I think it's funny that he's over 40 yards in 3 weeks. He's over 9 targets in 2 of those 3 weeks, and he's still 3,300. That just speaks to how bad this offense is, more than if you should play him or not.
The DK algorithm's just we don't want to raise you up, bud. Stay down there.
All right, let's see what the next game we have here is. This is loading. Okay, so we have the Chicago Bears versus the Chargers. I don't know, Chargers are a weird team to interpret because it seems like they're just going to keep losing games, keep playing Melvin Gordon until they have to pass the ball for the rest of the game, and then Austin Eckler gets 10 targets.
My buddy Mangone tweeted out, he's like, I'll pay Melvin Gordon to just go away. And he's so right. Melvin Gordon's just dust. He bet on himself and he lost, and it's just time to move on. I wish they would just play Eckler all the time. Just play Eckler. Mike Williams, 4K, too cheap. But it is Chicago, and I don't think we want to play him situationally there. Keenan Allen, the same thing. Dude, is this the David Montgomery week at 4,400? Do you have any stats to back that up versus a run funnel team like the Chargers? I don't. Just wondering if you do.
Yeah, I can pull up his volume because I'm pretty sure his volume kind of got scaled back last week, which is unfortunate because I thought it was David Montgomery week 4 weeks ago. And that didn't happen. Oh my Lord. So yeah, I thought his volume got scaled back. His volume got decimated. In the past 3 weeks, he went from 21 carries to 11 carries to 2 carries, and from 5 targets to 1 to 2. His snaps.
Yeah, they have been losing all 3 weeks. What about Tariq?
Yeah, I think the thing is, I know Tariq had one, like, I think it was the first week that Trubisky was back. Was that last week or the week before? Where he got like 9 targets. Didn't really convert because this offense is terrible. Like, I think he caught like all 9 of them or something.
Was it when
last week he got 12 targets, 9 catches, and turned that into 19 yards. It's just like, I don't know, this offense is so not conducive to fantasy points that it sort of negates the volume you get. You have to put a major discount on it. And obviously Cohen's still not getting very many carries. So
yeah, they were basically telling Tariq that he was short, like on the sideline after he caught a pass.
To be fair, he is.
No, I know. And then he tweeted back. He's like, I think Barstool like tweeted out. And then he tweeted back. He's like, I know I'm short, guys.
Like, really though. He's probably like, wow, never heard that one before. Oh, you don't say? Real creative. Yeah. No, I don't think anybody. Okay, I guess there is one thing I'm thinking about is Mitchell Trubisky, basically the same price as Ryan Tannehill. I think he got 20 points last week. Like, he got there in garbage time in a bad game, and he didn't look good. But I don't know, man. Points are points. He got 20 points, and he's 4,900 this week.
Is he going to run? Because Trubisky was like last year. I remember he's just running a ton, and he just hasn't ran as much this year, I guess.
He has not ran almost at all this year. He had 5 carries in his first game, I believe.
Yeah.
No, this says oh my God. He had 3 carries in his first game. He has 5 carries on the season. Didn't carry the ball a single time last week. I'm not sure if it's something they're scheming towards, if it's like last week, if it's coming back from injury. But honestly, until we see it, I don't know like why you would play him at all, I guess.
Allen Robinson, yeah. I'm not playing any of these Chicago. I don't like this game either. So it's pretty much like a 9-game slate, looks like.
I do think, like you said, Mike Williams, too cheap, a fine tournament play, but it did the 2 weeks before last week, he was just dominating Keenan Allen in volume, and it flipped back last week's where Keenan Allen crushed him in volume. He still got a decent amount of air yards. He didn't get a ton of air yards. Yeah, he got 6 targets, didn't get a ton of air yards on it. He's a fine play at 4K, but like last week I thought he was well underpriced. Now it's kind of flipped back to Keenan Allen. It's really just hard to pick anybody out of this team, except for, of course, Hunter Henry last week, 8 targets, 96 air yards. Like, he's getting serious wide receiver type volume. So I still think he's a great play cash tournaments anywhere.
Yeah, I'm with you. I like Hunter Henry. I think he's a good play. Yeah, for the price tag, 4,900. I'm not playing him in cash. You could do that, but yeah, 4,900. It's not the worst. I'd rather just go up to 300 for Evan Ingram.
All right, let's hop into our next game. We have the Panthers versus your San Francisco 49ers. They just keep winning. Although, to be fair, they scored 9 points against the Washington Redskins, but it was horrible weather, and they didn't really have to do much. San Francisco, 5.5-point favorites at home, a miserable 42-point total. So has Christian McCaffrey finally been priced out of where you're playing him? Because for me, that is absolutely the case. I know we talked about them already, but Leonard Fournette at 7,800 is now leading the league in terms of total touches because McCaffrey was on bye. He's only second in the league in touches per game. 7,800 is still a great price for that volume. 92 for McCaffrey. I am probably not playing him. Also, if there were a handful of defenses that mattered, I guess you would definitely say San Francisco's in the conversation. So, I'm a believer that probably the top 2 and the bottom 2 matter. Top 2 deep, like undoubtedly the Patriots matter. And there's probably another few teams that could contend for mattering. And then the bottom 2 are so bad that they also matter. So San Francisco very much in the conversation for that. Any interest in McCaffrey at 92?
No. But just because Kamara is at 76 and if he gets Drew Brees back, no McCaffrey. I get it, but just not in love with it. Yeah, I don't know what I like in this game. What are you kind of thinking?
I am still – it didn't work out last week in terms of touchdowns or yardage, but it worked out in terms of volume. Tevin Coleman, 20 carries last week. Of course, it made sense for them to run the ball a ton last week because of the weather. It was like – I saw just clips of it. It was like a torrential downpour. Neither team passed the ball very much, and it made sense for them just like grind out a 9-0 victory. But he got 20 carries last week. He got 18 carries week 4 and 16 carries week 4 that. He's also getting receiving game work. Everything points to Tevin Coleman being like more than the 1A to Matt Breeda's 1B in a team that wants to and has been able to run the ball effectively. So I think he's firmly in play for me in tournaments.
Yeah, I'm with you. It's fine for tournaments. I really love this game. 41.5 total. We've got it down to an 8-game slate almost.
We're just gonna play one game. We're just playing.
Should I be more interested in this game? Like Dante Pettis at 3,800. Like the usage has definitely increased. Obviously, last week was prior to last week. Like he had been definitely seeing an uptick. So I don't hate him, especially if Debo sits. But Debo will probably play, or Kittle sits, or whatever. They both have Q tags right now. I don't know what the injuries are. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Oh, Emmanuel Sanders, 4,600. I'll play him.
Oh, actually, it's a good pickup. I didn't see his price. Just one more note on Matt Breida, Tevin Coleman. Breida, I think only saw 8 carries last week. He did exit the game with some injury. I honestly don't remember what it was. He came back, I believe, but it would make sense given the amount of injuries he suffered throughout his very short career that they make Tevin Coleman the lead back. Kind of saw that last week, although they were forced to do so. I really think he's a solid tournament play. And I don't care too much to run it back. I think you can always run it back with Curtis Samuel because he's like another one of just the air yards guys. But is strictly a tournament play. I'm not interested in much of anything else in this game. This is really just one large showdown slate, so it's pretty cool.
Yeah, one large, one-game slate.
All right, let's hop into our next game. We have what is supposedly the game of the week. Matt Ryan, I assume, because they expect him to be healthy.
Dust.
Matt Ryan and the Falcons versus Seattle and Russell Wilson. Seattle with nearly a 29-point implied team total, a 54 over-under. Given, like, this literally sets up to be exactly what happened last week versus the Rams, where Seattle is just, like, fine cruising ahead of Atlanta. And, yeah, they look like straight garbage. Like, I don't get how this would be the easiest total, like, to fade ever.
Yeah. It's 55.5.
I've got 54.5, but it's by far the largest of the slate.
Yeah, it's 3 weeks in a row. I'll be fading this game. No, but seriously, Calvin Ridley, really good play this week.
Yeah.
No Sanu. He's been traded to the Patriots. Outside of that, like Julio's a really good play. Seattle's defense really isn't great. See, that's the other thing. Like, I think this is sneaky because if you see, like, a lot of people have the idea that Seattle has a good defense and they're actually a terrible defense. And for that reason, like, I don't mind the Atlanta side.
Matt Ryan.
Yeah, you go back to where everyone kind of went away from last week. Like, no one's going to touch Devontae Freeman, but, like, and he got thrown out of the game and he's 5,500. Like, I don't mind playing Devontae Freeman. I know Brian Hill's there. He got some work last week.
But they also lost Ito Smith, which is one of the concerns I raised last week was that Ito Smith got like a 6-catch game before and he was tied in red zone work with Freeman and they lost him. I'm not sure if he's playing this week, but I think he was lost to a concussion, which would be his second of the season. Oh, yes, he was lost to
a concussion in football, really? That's crazy.
Yeah, it's like his second this season, probably third or fourth already. They call it a head injury, but I mean, it was a concussion. So yeah, I'm not sure if he plays this week. In that case, I would absolutely be firing up Freeman again, exactly for the reasons you said. He burned people so incredibly badly last week, but not like, I don't want to say not because of his own doing, but he's not getting thrown out of another game.
What about Brian Hill at 3,800? I wonder what he did. I liked Brian Hill in the preseason. He's not SAG center, but he won me some money this preseason, so I don't hate him, especially week 1 of the preseason. I just don't know if I'm going to play him. He's not a bad running back. He passes the eye test, Kyle. Brian Hill does.
He does pass the eye test.
You know what I mean? He passes the eye test. Keep
in mind that I can barely see without my glasses, and I don't watch a ton of football.
I'm definitely not 2020. Russell Wilson on the Seattle side, 7,200. I guess, like, in the dome in Seattle, like, I'm not going to pay 7,200, but I get it in tournaments. Like, yeah, they're better play. I like David Moore, 3,200. What did he get for usage last week? Get him in the dome.
I would doubt much because they've been
I bet he played like 3 snaps.
Yeah, the thing is they've been rotating David Moore, Jerron
With
Brown.
Jerron Brown, with DK Metcalf. Yeah, I know. I don't know. Tyler Lockett, 7K. DK Metcalf, 5K. My voice just cracked really bad.
Mine cracks every single show I do for everything because I, do like 9 shows a week or whatever. So luckily it hasn't happened on SiriusXM over how many ever people that like the 19, 20 people in this show, I'm fine. Like you have to like sign up to get into this show, put your email in. You guys are kind of locked in with me. I don't want to sound like a child on SiriusXM. So you guys get the real me.
Oh, interesting.
Actually, hold on. Jerron Brown, 6 targets, played well over half the snaps last week. If you were looking to pay down for one of them, I don't know his price.
He also dropped an egregious touchdown pass. Like he couldn't have been more wide open.
Mark Andrews has to take that. I didn't see it, but Mark Andrews has to take that role, right?
I didn't see Mark Andrews. Jerron Brown's was bad. Was really bad.
So was Mark Andrews.
Dude, Jerron Brown's was. Ugh.
Was it as bad as the one that hit Aaron Jones in the face?
No, it wasn't that bad. That was bad. It wasn't bad, actually, because I faded Aaron Jones on that slate.
So it was great.
Mind it. Yeah, it was fantastic.
One more thing. Chris Carson at 7K got like over 20 carries. And the thing was, Rashad Penny was healthy, or at least he was active and assumedly healthy after getting a few weeks rest. It seems they've given up on him. I don't know if they ever had much interest in him, given, I don't know, what Pete Carroll sees on film or whatever. But at this point, it seems like they've completely given up on him, making Chris Carson just like the unquestioned bell cow back of his team. I think it's his 4th game in a row with 20 carries. 21. Yeah, his 4th game in a row with over 20 attempts on the ground. Last week, he also saw 5 targets. Like, I think it's at this point, like he's the new Leonard Fournette, where they're just not pricing him based on the volume he gets. So for me, I would probably be prioritizing him in cash at this point.
I like this game. Holy shit. I never thought I'd say it. Carson. Yeah, I like Carson, 7K.
Yeah, he's also just like a giant favorite in a dome against an awful defense. Like everything other than the fact that he's on the road, which isn't a huge deterrent for me, sets up for a great Chris Carson game. So,
yeah, no, I'm with you.
All right, we have, I think, 2 more games on the slate, maybe 3. I think I might have skipped Houston. We have, I guess I'll jump back to wherever that was. Houston, are they on the main slate? Why can't I find them? I don't know. We'll talk about, here they are. Houston versus the Raiders. Houston, 6.5-point favorites, 51.5-point total. If you were fading the game we just talked about, this would be your marquee game. For me, Kenny Stills at this point, probably cash viable, played 61 to 65 snaps. Only got 5 targets, but he just seamlessly stepped in the Will Fuller role. Like, played almost all the snaps, got his first 100-yard game as a Texan, and he's only 4,700. I think like, especially with all the value we talked about, if you pay it for Deshaun Watson in cash, which I think is viable against an awful defense, they have one of the highest implied team totals of the week. Stacking him with Kenny Stills is a great play.
I love the idea that like Aaron Rodgers did well versus Oakland, so we'll just run Deshaun Watson back at 7,100 versus Oakland. It's like Justin thought process.
That's probably not my reason. I just think they're bad and they have an implied team total.
Okay. Kenny Stills, yeah. Kenny Stills is fine. Like, I'd rather play Kiki Kute with Fuller. Questionable. Is Fuller out? Yeah, I think he's out.
Fuller's out, but do you think Kute like gets any gain from Fuller being out? Because I don't think they're like opposite players essentially.
I guess I get what you're saying with Kenny Stills. Yeah, I don't know. I feel like Kute's been in the offense longer, so maybe. But if they're running the same, they're obviously running the same scheme. So Stills probably would be the 1A, and then Kute would be behind him. No tight end love Akins with Fuller out versus Oakland.
I'm probably not playing him because they also run Darren Fells a decent amount. So
yeah, they eat into each other. It's like Indy all over again.
Yeah, if you could take team tight end, they would actually be a great team tight end, but it's just so hard to pick between the two.
I get you. What are we doing with Darren Waller, the GOAT, who I also called last week and had 40 points?
All right, you and everyone else called Darren Waller. Stick to Marquez Valdez.
No, you wanted to play Hooper, dude. You said Hooper. I didn't even, when we did the other pod, I didn't even like mention Hooper, and you guys were, I knew you guys were like, oh, he didn't even say Hooper, and why would I play Hooper? I didn't even consider him. Like, first of all, he was obviously the chalk. He wasn't the tight end that I was going to play in cash, and I didn't want to play him at all. Like, I'm not going to play him in tournaments, so why talk about him? It just wasn't a good play. You just have to have the foresight to see that it just wasn't going to be a good play. It was Hunter Henry in cash or Waller in cash with Tyrell Williams out, and then the Rams D, which I loved. I don't know, just all the right picks, man. You like Hooper? I don't know. Darren Waller, 5,900, such a good play. I don't know on this slate though.
Yes,
Actually, Tyrann Mathieu on the slate. I'll take some Waller. Who's covering D Hop on this 81 for Oakland? Like, let's get some Waller running back with D Hop. I don't know.
Yeah, for me, the thing is, like, is this not? I don't know. He's.
I'd rather play Hopkins over Michael Thomas. I know you love Michael Thomas. If he has Pat Peterson on him, I'd rather play Hopkins.
I kind of want to talk about Waller because, like, hasn't Foster Moreau scored like 3 straight games or something? Also Waller not getting like dominant. Like, he had multiple double-digit target games in the early season. Or he had the 14 target game.
All right, so we're not playing Waller. I don't know. I like Hopkins though.
Yeah, I mean, I can't argue with like Hopkins.
If Foster Moreau is going to eat in that much, you have the stats. I trust you. We're not playing Waller. I have a little pants tent for Waller. I don't know. I keep playing him and he keeps doing well, so I'll just keep playing.
You're not wrong, dude's a beast. He finally scored, which like that was the thing he was missing in his game, which is almost entirely variance. Except, like, you know, within the confines of your offense, the amount you score probably mostly variance.
How do you not play the GOAT Waller?
He's expensive, dude. Yeah, but I can't argue with Hopkins. Dude's a beast. And now I think with Will Fuller out, it's at least reasonable to expect him to get a handful of more air yards. Like, there was times this season where Will Fuller was, I believe he was at one point beating Hopkins in air yards. So that's actually secretly probably a decent boon for Hopkins. So,
yeah.
All right, this should be our last game of the slate. We have the Browns versus the Patriots. So are we fading the Patriots defense again only to get slaughtered?
I'm going to be at this game. I'm not fading the Pats, D.
Yeah, I actually think at this I feel
13-point fade. Imagine if Baker just like chops off of the mouth here. Like, they'll destroy this kid.
Yeah, I think especially because I feel good about playing Kenny Stills. I feel good about playing Ty Johnson. I'm
playing all the Odell in this slate, by the way. No. Odell's a good play, though, at 6,500.
I guess, I don't know. Talk about that more because for me, I don't know. I'm terrified of playing
because defense doesn't matter, obviously. Like, what other reason could I give? Like, defense just doesn't matter.
There's one defense that matters.
Yeah, well, not this week. I'll tell you that much. Odell, baby, 5% owned, slant to the house. Come on, dude. 6,500. You think I'm going to miss that play?
Okay, 6,500 for a dude of his talent's actually a pretty solid price. I don't know. He's fine.
He's fine. He's fine. He's a good play, dude. Like, you have to anticipate like good play, low ownership tournaments. Let's go. You know what I mean? Like, Odell's a good play.
Okay.
He's going to be under 6% owned, and he's 6,500.
That's fair. I have no arguments with getting a dude that, you know, it's Odell.
Defense doesn't matter, dude. You tell me this all the time.
I tell you one defense matters all the time.
No, defense doesn't matter, Odell. TDs coming. 75 yards slant to the house. That's it.
But he would be the only player I'm playing on the Browns for sure. Like, you couldn't pay me to play Baker, who's leading the league in interceptions, has yet to throw more touchdowns than interceptions in a single week. Yeah, he's.
I can't wait to play Baker, dude.
I'd rather run Odell one.
I'm not playing Baker.
So are you doing anything like I don't know. It's hard to pin down who you want from New England at this point. I'm just off of all their running backs. I get Sony Michel crushed on Monday night. I don't really care.
I'll pay him to go away. Oh my God. He is the worst, dude. He's the worst. He's worse than Melvin Gordon. He's so bad. So bad. Such a bad player. He should not be in the league. Like, he gives away tells. He can't catch the ball. And they keep trying to get him involved in the passing game because Patriots running backs for decades have been involved in the short area passing game. And they just don't. He just can't catch. He dropped he had a screen pass that would have been a touchdown. Hit him in the face. Like, I can't do it. You know what I mean? Like Sony Michel he's just dust, dude. It's just all dust.
Yeah. So no. I mean, I agree. I hate playing him, and
Dude, you're the biggest Sony Michel guy. Like I know. What are you talking about?
I love Sony Michel. I love me some Melvin Gordon.
You're on all the good running backs.
No,
That's why.
I hate every single running back. None
Is
of them
anyone
matter.
watching the show? Oh.
It's strange. We started with, I don't know, 20 people. Now it's down to 0. No. So my final thing is, what are you doing with the pass catchers on this team? Julian Edelman, perennial, or I guess weekly, banged up, but still managed to play. Now they've acquired Mohamed Sanu, Josh Gordon to IR, and of course, like always in play as like a worse version of Jarvis Landry that you have to put in a running back position.
Jacoby Myers is 3,600. Dude, fire him up, cash. 3,600 cash game lock of the century, cash.
You seem to forget about a man named Philip Dorsett.
4,200, too cheap as well. The other thing is though, whoever has Denzel Ward on them isn't a good play secretly. The other one you can play.
All right, I think that's the entire slate.
Yeah, I think we covered it.
Questions, of course. Questions. I will start here. I have Godwin and Evans in half PPR being offered. Keenan Allen for Evans. Should I take it to diversify? You should probably just take it because Evans is bad compared to Godwin. Any interest in that?
No.
All right. We have start one, Chase Edmonds, David Johnson, or Sonny Michel. Oh, Chase Edmonds. It doesn't like even if David Johnson is active, I still think he gets out-touched by Chase Edmonds. And you just heard the Sonny Michel rant. We don't need to do that again.
Yeah, Chase Edmonds is good at football.
He's so good. Devontae Adams, likely a no-go. Yes, definitely not playing. Or I guess not definitely, but probably not playing. Need 2 of these in PPR. Dede Westbrook, Robert Woods, Mohamed Sanu, or Curtis Samuel. I don't know. Dede's getting the volume, and Robert Woods is in a good spot. Those would be my guys. I'm probably not playing Sanu in his first game in New England. And I don't know, Curtis Samuel has just really struggled to capitalize on the air yards, so probably more of like a tournament DFS play than a season-long play.
Oh, shit. I forgot about Sanu in that Pats game. Yikes. Yeah, be Dorsett then.
Yeah, because that's what I was going to say is Dorsett has such a unique role compared to pretty much everybody else on the team. Yeah, compared to everybody else on the team without Josh Gordon active, who filled a somewhat similar role. Whereas I would be confident that nobody they're bringing on, whether it be more volume or like more snaps for Jacoby Myers or Mohamed Sanu, really affects Dorsett compared to the other guys.
What's wrong with Josh Gordon? Do we know?
No, I honestly just don't think they want him anymore because it's a knee thing, but they expect to release him as soon as he gets healthy. So this is just their way of cutting him.
Oh, holy shit.
Yeah, he's going to be healthy. I don't know, a few weeks. I'm not sure exactly what it is.
Why are you expecting them to release him? Did Schefter tweet that out?
Yeah, Schefter and Rapp both, and probably everybody else, said they're going to put it. I mean, the plan is that they put him on IR. They already have, but they put him on IR, and then once he gets a clear bill of health, they release him from IR. Not sure the exact reason for that. I would assume it's a way to skirt some cap stuff, essentially.
Okay.
And then the Dolphins can pick him up, so. Because they'll go to waivers and they get first claim. They probably don't actually take him though, but that'd be funny. All right, last question: Tyler Boyd or Marvin Jones PPR? I don't know. I don't know. I still say stick with the volume, Tyler Boyd, despite the fact that Marvin Jones is on a better offense and still gets decent volume. I don't know. Am I just like swimming upstream trying to fade Marvin Jones?
No, I don't think so.
And the last question in the chat is one we already answered. So. For Bobby Gomes, at Bobby Gomes DFS. For myself, at Kyle Tweets here. Everybody, thanks for tuning in. Sundays, 9 a.m. You can catch us breaking down any news and going over the slate one more time.
Yep. Thanks for tuning in, guys.